Some people are just such great storytellers. They could talk about simple things like getting on a bus or washing their hands, and it's still so interesting to listen to. But for the rest, every time we are at a gathering or a party, we sort of fade into the background and unable to really share much. That's because we take this art for granted. Storytelling is an art. It's almost like being a film director. It has a process, it has steps, it has a structure. It has a beginning, middle, and end one has to consciously think about. Now, some can think about it instantly, while others need time to think about them. If you are the kind that needs time to think about them, then take that time. Before you go to a gathering, a meeting, take some time to think about the story you are going to tell. And the only thing that you need to do before that is to know how to structure a story. But of course, there's certain benchmarks, certain boxes you need to tick to know how to be a better storyteller. Because we know some people who are not shy, but on the flip side, they end up telling really long and boring stories too. In this video, I'm going to tell you 4 things that will make you a better storyteller. My name is Rai. I'm a former media presenter and director. And on this channel, I talk about various things that help us become a more confident speaker and create our own personal brand. The number one thing I would suggest you to keep in mind when you are trying to be a better storyteller is avoid a mistake we make right at the beginning. And that is by forgetting to put the context. Sometimes we just start telling the story without thinking that we have to give all these details so that people can first get a picture of the whole situation and then get into the event. But many times people forget to provide the location, the names and relationships of the people they're talking about. They forget to provide the time and place, so you don't know whether it happened just yesterday or 10 years ago. And it's all kind of muddled up into this vague idea of a story. So before you start telling a story, if you've not got anything else figured out, at least figure out the opening line with context. So that means you are going to do the WWW, the who, the when, and the where. That's it. That's all you have to do. So last Thursday, I was walking home from work with Tom, my colleague. Don't just say Tom, you got to establish the relationship with Tom. Who is this Tom? My daughter does this all the time. So she would say something like, so there was this announcement and then we all sat in one place and started having lunch. And then after probing and questioning, I find out that there was this announcement on a loudspeaker that everybody is supposed to gather on the lawn to have lunch together with students of all classes so they could intermingle and have a good social time. We always hear that content is the king, but turns out context is the king. The second on my list of do's and don'ts on what to keep in mind while trying to gossip, try to share an anecdote or tell a story is to focus on the body of the story. A lot of times when we try to tell a story, we come with the main character energy. Like we are the main character in the story. And everything we say, it's about our perspective and our presence and where we were, what we were doing, and what we thought about it. But even if it's your experience, learn to tell the story by cutting yourself out as the main character and taking the role of a narrator of the story. If you are able to tell a story by removing yourself from the story, that's when you know that you've become a successful storyteller. Let me give you an example. Let's say I ask you, so you've been to the party, how was it? And you say, oh, that was really nice. I went in around 8 o'clock. I had some food. I met a few people. I met so-and-so from so-and-so place. I basically didn't eat a lot because I was already full when I went. And they played some good music and I danced a little and then I came back. That is your journal. That is not a story. That is why you need to leave your main character energy out the door. Walk in as the ghost of yourself, as a narrator. And then look at the room. So the same experience at the party can be said as, it was at a pub that was cowboy themed. So they had these heads of animals on the wall. They were playing country music. I met Sally from work and Sally recently had a baby, so she couldn't stop talking about the baby. She showed her baby pictures and Sally has actually put on a lot of weight and I did not mention that to her though. I was very cautious enough not to point out that Sally had put on weight, but she herself said she has put on weight and she has joined this gym. Here you said nothing about yourself. And that is the difference between talking as the main character and talking as a narrator. And that switch is what makes a person a better storyteller. If you like the content so far, please do like and subscribe. It's a new channel and I would love to have you as a subscriber. We've worked on the introduction, we've worked on the body. Now let's talk about ending the story, otherwise known as landing the plane. If it takes one sentence to tell your story, please just use one sentence. There is no need to drag it out and space it out and keep doing circles around the airport. You have to land the plane as soon as you've reached the airport. A lot of people digress along the way. They start saying something, they move on to something else, then they move on to a third thing, and they repeat those things multiple times before they are finally able to reach the conclusion of the story. People don't have that kind of attention span anymore anyways. So your job is to be able to tell the story the shortest possible way. In fact, here's the checklist that every time you add something to the story, ask yourself these two questions. What I'm saying, what I'm adding, is it entertaining? Number two, this piece of information that I'm sharing, is it relevant to my audience? Is it just relevant to me, or is it relevant to the audience? For example, when a mother is sharing a detail about her child to another mother, that is relevant to that other mother. But the same story, when I'm sharing to a person without a child, that detail might not be relevant at all. That's why when you add details, make sure those details are really funny or sad or some emotion that makes it entertaining and engaging, or that information is really useful to the other person is the reason why you're sharing it in the first place. So the same story could be a hit or a miss depending on who you say it to. And if you like the content so far, please do like and subscribe so I get inspired to do many more videos like this. So we've talked about the introduction, the body, and the conclusion. What's left to talk about now? After we've talked about the beginning, middle, and end, we've come right back to the beginning. And this is the follow-up part. When we're sitting around and people are telling a story, we are very, very compelled to talk about a very similar story. Oh, this happened to you, something just like that happened to me too. And we are always doing this me too every time somebody else is telling a story, to the point that it sometimes becomes a bad habit and it kind of takes away the magic of their storytelling. So somebody talked about this great vacation. We want to talk about a vacation that is even greater than what they had. Actually, we are trying to be relatable, but it comes off as humble brag. It's like we're trying to name drop and brag about the fact that we have done it before them. You might just trigger this internal monologue in people that, oh, there he or she goes again. Now he's going to say, oh, I've done this too. So try not to be that person at the party. Yes, there are so many times you might want to share your anecdotes which are very similar, but make sure you don't do it all the time. I hope these tips actually helped you. If they did, please do like and subscribe. It's a new channel and I would love to have you as a subscriber. Like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.